President Trump and Joe Biden holding dueling rallies right now in the battleground state of Florida. The president barnstorming several states over the last few days, and of course he'll do this through Election Day. Is it enough, though, to put him over the top? Joining me now, RNC Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel. I want to just start with President Trump's the schedule that he's on, which is remaining amazing to me, Ronna. And also what's interesting, and I really didn't think about it, he's sort of the spokesperson for overcoming or getting over COVID-19 at his age. To be at this kind of a pace, it does give people hope also, even as those cases rise, that maybe it's something, you can make it through and get back to life.
Yeah, and I think, Charles, the point is cases may be rising because we are doing more testing, so we find those asymptomatic people, but mortality rates are going down, and that is the key with better therapeutics. And the president is working so hard to make sure that Regeneron, which he took, is going to be available to the public for free. These are the types of things that started so early on in this pandemic, where the president harnessed the private sector and that innovation to ramp up testing, to ramp up therapeutics, and now we're on track to a vaccine. But I don't know how he does it. I got to be honest. He really is remarkable to be out there and doing 5 rallies a day. It wears me down. It wears me down.
Operation Warp Speed, we know, will go down in history. It really will, as a way to react to these sort of things, to use the power of the executive branch and to incorporate the public sector. This morning I saw Gallup, an interesting poll. They're reporting a big uptick in satisfaction with the way things are going in the United States. And I will point out, of course, the numbers are still down from the February level, which was, by the way, the highest since 2005. But what caught me is that the move was not only driven by Republicans. There was a 50% improvement among registered independents. Now, this echoes the storyline that appears to be emerging throughout this election. The Trump momentum, we think it's clear, but is it enough? Is it going to be enough in time by next Tuesday?
Well, we're seeing it in these battleground states that we're starting to take leads in early vote. We're seeing this momentum on the ground, the energy. And you're right, people feel good. We're coming out of this pandemic. We see that a vaccine is around the corner and our economy is improving. And thank goodness to the president for things like the PPP loans that allowed businesses to keep their doors open or their payroll going and not have to shut down when they did during this pandemic for the health and safety of their neighbors. I mean, so many things this president has done has been instrumental in pulling us out of this pandemic so much more quickly economically than anybody ever thought we could.
Right, and of course, the latest proof of that was the GDP number, which at one point Wall Street estimated it was going to be down. That's what was really remarkable about it, as a lot of people try to dismiss it. Wall Street thought that at one point they had the market the third quarter to be down almost 4% instead of being up over 33%. I want to ask you again to circle back to this COVID-19, because one of the things we're seeing in the last 24, 48 hours are tighter restrictions over in Europe. But here's the interesting thing. Those leaders, and I'm talking Macron, Merkel, they are really going out of their way to say, hey, this is not full lockdown. In fact, we saw it in Italy where protests turned physical as they returned some restrictions there. And the reason I'm bringing this up, I think it's pretty clear that people on both sides of the Atlantic, I'm talking everyday citizens, loathe the idea of another lockdown. In the meantime, President Trump has been adamant. He's not going to do that, while Joe Biden has hinted at shutting down this country. He says it depends on the scientists. How will that really impact this election outcome? Because I would think someone who just got their job back would be really worried about shutting the economy down completely again.
So let's look at a couple things. The president has said we need to protect our at-risk population, our seniors and those with underlying conditions, but we can balance that with opening the economy. Also, the Democrats held up this fourth stimulus package to help get aid to those who need it in the economy. So absolutely, as the president says, the cure can't be worse than the problem. And if we lock down again, we won't have an economy. 33% GDP, 11.4 million jobs already. Unemployment under 8%, which was not forecasted to be under 8% until the end of next year. Every economic marker is better. People are doing better. They're feeling better. Plus, we have testing, and we're on the road to a vaccine. This is all because of President Trump and what he's done. It's only been hindered by Democrats who have refused to release more of those PPP loans and the stimulus checks to American people who need it. Joe Biden will lock us down again, and the American people do not want that.
Yeah, I mean, you can take it from me as someone in New Jersey, spends time in New York. It is really sad, the unemployment levels and the businesses that go out every single day. Ronna, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to see you.